Duh.
Hello everyone, I'm K-Swope, the only YouTuber you know who does not play guitar and is a massive poser, okay? Now, truth be told, that intro took me way too long to actually get down. It was a mess, so I'm glad to be done with this. Enjoy the blooper reel at the end of this, because there's going to be one, let me tell you. For some reason you can't tell, we're reviewing Iron Man 2 today. We're going to talk about the good things about the movie, then the bad things about the movie. We're going to bring it all together at the end and rate it on a scale from 1 to 10. 1 is of the similar quality as stepping on a Lego brick. 10, of course, is Citizen Kane-esque quality, so let's go ahead and dive right in. Good stuff about the movie. Just like first Iron Man, it starts with a bang. And when I say with a bang, I mean AC/DC, ladies and gentlemen, because Shoot to Thrill, that drops. We have the, well, actually, before we have that, we have the whole scene, Ivan, you know, and the whole Iron Man thing going on and his dad and all that stuff. But as soon as that's over, then we get dropped into the excitement. Shoot to Thrill, Iron Man, dropping down for the Stark Expo. Beautiful, amazing, very attention-grabbing opening, and so I really, really like that. Not to mention, Shoot to Thrill is just one of the many great songs on the soundtrack. I've actually compiled a list of the songs on the soundtrack. It is stacked, let me tell you, okay? Again, AC/DC, Shoot to Thrill. We've got Should I Stay or Should I Go by The Clash. We got a little Tupac with California Love. It Takes Two. Another One Bites the Dust. Robot Rock. Groove Homes. Pick Up the Pieces. And, of course, ending with more AC/DC, Highway to Hell, okay? All great songs. This soundtrack is absolutely phenomenal, so adds a little bit of that sizzle to the steak. But more sizzle we've got. I'm just going to say, there's so much sizzle in this movie that it's one of the reasons why I love it so much is because there's just so much for me to gawk at that I just like. For one, the Mark IV armor looks like a just better version of the Mark III. It's like the Mark III, but like, I can only really describe it as better. I know it just sounds weird and very non-descriptive, but you just compare the two and it just looks like it's got more going for it, the Mark IV. And so I very, very much like how the Mark IV looks. However, debatably, my favorite Iron Man suit design is the Mark VI, and so I'm really grateful to see it in this film. We also get to see it for a majority of the movie The Avengers, and so I really, really love that suit. I think it just looks great, and so we see it in this film. It's the primary suit he wears at the end, and I just really, really like it. For some reason, the triangle arc reactor design, I just absolutely love, and so seeing it there in the most triangle-y, I guess, if that's a word, form, I do quite appreciate seeing. We also get a fun cameo by Stan Lee, who gets mistaken as Larry King, which is also funny because in the first Iron Man film, he gets mistaken for Hugh Hefner, okay? So that's very, very fun to see. Stan Lee, rest in peace. We're thinking of you. We also get a cameo of Elon Musk, and so that cameo for some people, I'm sure, has not aged well over the last couple of years. I still think it's funny, because I go back and watch it, I'm like, Elon Musk, how crazy is that? That's, you know, before he became the living meme that he is now. And so that's really funny. Really enjoyed seeing that just for the lulz. I think this film also does something very interesting, too. The kind of core of the, I guess the B plot is the morals of the Iron Man suit and this power that Tony Stark has, which is based on his own intellect and the armor that he creates. And technology, how far can we take it? Is it ethical to have just one guy who's able to make this really, really nice suit just go out and start basically creating single-handed world peace, that kind of stuff? And so it does ask some very, very interesting questions, and especially because what happens is we kind of see at the beginning no one's prepared. He's way ahead of everybody, so the U.S. is on the cutting edge as long as they trust Tony Stark. Meanwhile, Whiplash shows up with the arc reactor technology and kind of tears him a new one, and so that is very, very compelling, I think. Now, the only issue is that they don't really see that through. They don't really answer that quandary, which we'll talk more about in the bad section. Don't want to get too far ahead of myself. But either way, there's still that. I also got to say, there are two things from the first Iron Man film that I mentioned that are still great in this film. That, of course, being Robert Downey Jr., obviously. He's great in this role. We all love Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark Iron Man. And the CGI is still fantastic, just as good as it was in the first Iron Man film. So, got to give a lot of credit where credit is due, and credit is very much due there. This film is also the first time we got to see Scarlett Johansson as Black Widow. She's got that really awesome hallway fight scene, which is really, really fun to see. Again, like I said, so much sizzle in this film. Of course, we'll see Black Widow again in Avengers, which is coming up in a little bit, and honestly, it's the film I'm most looking forward to rewatching in this rewatch for Phase 1, so hopefully you guys are ready for that, which, in case you don't know, we're doing K-Swope versus the MCU, in which I'm reviewing every MCU film, at least that's the plan, building up to Avengers Doomsday, so hopefully we'll be able to knock everything out. If I'm lucky, I'll get all the Spider-Man films done before the new Spider-Man one comes out, which I'm very much looking forward to. Brand new day. I think it's going to be fun. But let's not get too far off track. Let's keep going. The A-plot of this film is basically Tony Stark is dying, and it's kind of ironic because the arc reactor he has in his chest, keeping the shrapnel away, runs on palladium, and the palladium is poisoning him. And so that's really, really interesting that the very thing keeping him alive is also killing him. So it's very, very weird. And so he's kind of treating everything in this film like, okay, I'm probably going to bite the dust soon. So let's, live life like there's no tomorrow in a lot of ways. And that causes a lot of problems. And it also then kind of leans back into the whole, can we trust Tony Stark kind of thing. Now, we do have to address the villains in this film. The villains, of course, being Whiplash, okay, and Justin Hammer. Now, Justin Hammer is remarkably unremarkable, and I think that's the point. So he's annoying. He's basically a great value Tony Stark, like quite literally. I think in like all the ways he's great value Tony Stark. Whiplash, though, he's got aura, okay? He is aura farming. We get to see the iconic Mark V suit up, where he takes the briefcase suit, he puts it on, suits up with it. That, of course, is very, very fun. And so many people absolutely love the Mark V suit and love that sequence in the film, that the Mark V is a favorite for a lot of people in terms of Iron Man suits. One day, I need to sit down and rank all the Iron Man suits, in my opinion, because I do have quite a lot of opinions, because Iron Man's my GOAT, and so I just love all that kind of stuff. But regardless, that scene, fantastic. There's also another fantastic scene where at Tony Stark's birthday party, when he's just totally wasted, acting like there's no tomorrow because he's dying, Tony and Rhodey get into a fight. But it's not just any fight, because Tony's wearing the Mark IV armor, and Rhodey puts on the Mark II armor. Anyways, at the end, Rhodey basically beats Tony, flies off in the Mark II suit, and he basically takes it back to the military, and with Justin Hammer, they rebrand the suit into the War Machine armor. And I gotta say, War Machine Mark I is the best looking War Machine suit that we have ever gotten, okay? You cannot change my mind on this. I'm fully a believer in this. It looks totally awesome. Super bad apples. I love it. Oh, chef's kiss. Mwah. So good. I love it. Plus, you have that suit with the Mark VI in the final battle, and it's just the most beautiful pairing of Iron Man suits I've seen in my entire life. It like almost brings a teardrop to my eye. I love it so much. Anyways, last thing I gotta say about this film that I like that is good is the end credit scene, okay? In case you don't know, the end credit scene is Coulson strolls up to find Thor's hammer in, I think it was like New Mexico, if I'm not mistaken, where the first Thor takes place. Because in case you didn't know, apparently the Incredible Hulk, Iron Man 2, and Thor all take place within the same week. And I also believe, if I'm not mistaken, they actually get Captain America out of ice that same week also. But the events of the film mostly take place World War II, as I'm sure you know. But we'll talk about that film when I review that in another 2 installments, okay? Now, the bad section, I'm just going to warn you right now. So, there's not as many bad things here, but I think these bad things carry a lot more weight. Let's start with a light one, though. So, Ivan knows Tony Stark's going to be in Brazil for whatever reason. I don't know how he knows that, because I don't know if that was public knowledge, because that's where the F1 thing's going on, and where he, wreaks havoc and stuff for the first time. I don't understand why Ivan knew that, Whiplash, to go there and start doing things. It just seems kind of like not explained very well to me. I also do think, as cool as it looks from Whiplash walking away from explosions, he does that way too much in this film, just straight up, that it's a little all over the place. Now, a bigger problem that we have is Howard Stark and his ties to S.H.I.E.L.D., okay? So in case you don't know, S.H.I.E.L.D. had a very small presence in the Incredible Hulk and had a significantly bigger presence in Iron Man, okay? Because we got Coulson, and then Nick Fury shows up at the end. And the issue comes in where Nick Fury basically drops the bomb on Tony Stark that your father helped build S.H.I.E.L.D., okay? And I feel like since we saw S.H.I.E.L.D. already in the first Iron Man, that would have been more relevant information to bring up in that film to make this one make a lot more sense, if that makes any sense to you. So, especially if Tony's dad helped build S.H.I.E.L.D., I mean, someone would have just said, it could be cleared up with one simple line of dialogue, where Coulson wants to talk to Tony Stark, meet with him with S.H.I.E.L.D. and stuff, and say, hey, your father helped us build this company, we'd like a chance to whatever. That would be enough, and they don't allude to that at all, and I think that's just kind of like, feels almost retcon-y. I don't know why, but it's interesting. And Howard Stark is also an interesting character, Tony Stark's dad, because he is surprisingly in almost as many MCU films as Tony Stark himself is, if you sit and think about it. Maybe not quite as much, but he's got a presence in a lot of places, surprisingly. So, just going to leave that there. But either way, I just think it's a really, really bad thing. Generally, just they didn't execute that well. The biggest problem is this with this film, okay, is that nothing much happens. And what I mean by that is this. the conflict doesn't seem very like important to the overarching story. Neither the A plot or the B plot, the Tony Stark dying or the people not trusting Tony Stark. It just feels like the plot goes nowhere. It almost feels really hollow. Like the character Tony Stark, he's not dying at the end, but he doesn't go through any type of character arc or character development. Everyone kind of sort of stays the same. I mean, Pepper and Tony get into a relationship, and Rhodey officially becomes War Machine and stuff, but like, that's really it. It's like the only thing that they're doing is throwing in some fan service, and I feel like the movie, as much as I like this film, it doesn't need to exist. That's the problem. And so yeah, it kind of stinks because, again, it's the sizzle versus the steak. It's like, I like so many things that happen in this film, but the film in and of itself and the story that it's telling is very bland, boring, and just not very engaging. And so it's really weird. It's really hard for me to talk about it because, again, on one hand, I do like it, but on the other hand, I'm like, it does nothing for me emotionally, though. It just has some really cool stuff. So I really don't know. It's kind of really brings it down because, like I said, all the good things I said, most of that is pure sizzle. And again, I like the sizzle, but at the end of the day, when I'm looking at this film, boiling it down, it's like there's nothing much going on here. And so that is quite the disappointment. And that already is going to finish up my bad section. That's a big bad at the end, though, I just got to say. I also have a note I want to say, too, and I don't know. I'm not a big, like, Black Widow fan. I never read a single Black Widow comic. In fact, I don't think I've read a single comic with Black Widow in it, to be quite honest. But regardless, I still think it's interesting that Scarlett Johansson chose to not use a Russian accent because Black Widow is a very, very Russian character from my knowledge, in the comics and stuff. And so I wonder why exactly. That's kind of throwing me off guard. And surprisingly, though, I actually saw Black Widow in these films before I saw her in most other things. So when I would see her characterized in, like, Avengers, Earth's Mightiest Heroes, and they played her with a Russian accent. And her not having that in this film kind of threw me off. That's kind of weird. I don't know why that is the case. Nothing against Scarlett Johansson or the Black Widow character or anything like that. It's just confusing. We'll put it like that. Very, very confusing. That, ladies and gentlemen, general thoughts on Iron Man 2. If I have to rate this film, it's kind of tough because, like I said, it's the sizzle versus the steak. The steak is not very good. As a result, it's really tough. I want to put it at either a 6 or 7, but I think I'm just going to have to stick it at I guess a 7, because if The Incredible Hulk was a 6, this is a 7. So, 7 out of 10, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. And if you enjoyed this video, maybe you'd be interested in some more DC-related content, because my good friend, Mr. CCS, put out this video right here, in which he asked me to come on and give some thoughts on the Snyderverse, which is very, very fun. The old DC stuff, the DCAU, as people have coined it. So go check that video out. I'm trying to help him out. I figured, you know what? If he's going to have me on his video, I'm going to do what I can to promote specifically that video on his channel. So go check out Mr. CCS in his video there. It's really, really good. And if you liked this, I'm sure you're going to love that video. Super thorough, super duper great. But that's going to wrap things up for me, ladies and gentlemen. I, of course, am K-Swope. Don't forget, Jesus loves you, and I will see you in the next one. Come on. Gosh dang. Okay. This better be the heckin' best blooper reel you've ever seen in your life. No problem. Okay. Okay. I'm ready to punch something. I'm ready to punch something. Okay. From the top. Okay. Okay. Come on, YouTube. This is for you. You got that? Okay? I don't really play guitar, and you can see why. This is the most effort I've ever put into an intro. Okay. That's it. That's the one. That's the take. Yes. Praise Jesus. Thank you. Thank you.